So let's start with a question that I think really challenges the very foundations of modern ambition.
Okay.
If success, if wealth, is achieved solely through this relentless hard work,
Yeah.
this sheer grit and just, nonstop busyness,
Mm-hmm.
why are some of the busiest people we know, I'm thinking of, say, specialized nurses, working these insane 12-hour critical care shifts, or construction foremen driving these huge complex projects?
Mm.
Why aren't they consistently the wealthiest people in the world?
That is a necessary gut check. Because the immediate answer, the one we're all trained to have, is, well, they should be.
Right.
And it just exposes this fundamental lie that society has sold us, that busyness is the same as productivity, and that productivity guarantees success and
Yeah.
validates our self-worth.
Exactly.
If the sheer number of hours you worked truly dictated your financial outcome, well, the busiest people would be the richest. And that's just,
Yeah.
it's not the reality we see.
No, not even close. In fact, the source material we've been digging into for today argues that wealth and busyness are often at completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And to really get this modern trap, we kind of have to look back a little.
Mm-hmm.
The economist Thorstein Veblen, he wrote about the leisure class way back in the late 1800s, and he talked about how it was a status symbol for the rich to conspicuously avoid work.
Yeah, idleness was the mark of the aristocracy. I mean, to actually do manual labor or focused productive work, that was a signal that you had to work. It was a clear class marker.
Totally.
But as the source points out, that whole cultural image got flipped on its head, especially after the 1960s and 80s. We shifted into this mindset where the ultimate symbol of success became the person who's perpetually overworked.
Yes, hustler.
The hustler, the one who's always traveling, always on their phone. The classic Wall Street banker or the tech founder who's bragging about only sleeping 4 hours a night.
And that connection between exhaustion and importance is still so strong today, right? Well, it's all over social media. It creates this really toxic paradigm where you feel guilty if you're not busy. If your calendar has empty space, something must be wrong.
Oh, definitely. But the crucial insight here, the whole point, is that if being busy doesn't guarantee wealth, and in fact often gets in the way of it, then we've completely misidentified the real currency we should be trying to get.
And that real currency, as the book we're looking at today lays out, isn't money, it's time.
It's time. Busyness is the problem because it robs you of your single greatest asset, your freedom and your control. I mean, you can have millions of dollars, but if every single hour of your week is mortgaged to something else, client demands, commuting, fixing things, obligations you hate, you're not a free person. You're not actually rich.
So if you're out there working hard to earn a salary, instead of working strategically to scale your time, you're stuck in the busy trap.
Yeah.
And that is our mission today. We are doing a deep dive into a very precise blueprint for breaking that toxic link between time spent working and a wealth acquired. We're going to explore the path to becoming time rich, and we're drawing exclusively from the framework in Lloyd J. Ross's book, Become Time Rich, How to Stop Being Busy and Start Getting Wealthy.
Right. It's a whole philosophy where time freedom is the number one goal, the non-negotiable. And financial wealth is just, well, it's the inevitable side effect of getting that freedom. It's a complete flip of the usual mindset.
Okay, so let's unpack this blueprint by looking at the person who wrote it, because the source material gives us this really vivid picture of Lloyd J. Ross's journey, and it really drives home the idea that even the highest achievers fall right into this busy trap.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, academically, the guy was a powerhouse. He had a degree in biomedical science, a master's in international business, and a Juris Doctor. He was admitted as a lawyer to the Supreme Court of Queensland by the time he was 23.
I mean, that's an elite pedigree by any standard. And then he used that to get into high-stakes commercial real estate development in Abu Dhabi. He was working on these globally recognized projects like the Grand Prix circuit and the planning for Ferrari World.
So he's at the absolute pinnacle of the corporate world in a field that just demands constant high-hour attention.
And yet, even with all the prestige and the big salary, he talks about hitting this just severe psychological wall. His experience in that corporate structure was defined by constant uncertainty. Wage cuts, layoffs, people being made redundant. And he felt just totally frustrated by the rigid limits of the 9-to-5. He realized he was pouring all his energy into what he called wasteful work without increased income or personal growth.
And that breaking point wasn't really just about the money, was it? It was about agency. It was about control. He felt that the corporate structure, even at that super high level, was the one dictating his worth, his time, his identity. And he hit this point of just, fundamental frustration where he decided he was psychologically unemployable.
What a powerful phrase.
It is. It's not that he couldn't get a job. It's that he realized he couldn't live a life with that lack of control anymore.
And that moment, that realization that controlling his time was the only thing that mattered, that was the catalyst. He read Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek, and it just clicked. It gave him the permission he needed to write his resignation letter and go after absolute control of his time.
And this was a massive, massive decision. I mean, he was deep into studying for the CFA charter program, which is brutally difficult, and he was also helping his family business recover at the same time.
That pivot really shows the conflict we all face, right?
Yeah.
He walked away from the family property business he'd spent 7 years rebuilding after the global financial crisis.
And he abandoned 5 years of dedicated study. He was one exam away from completing the Level 3 CFA charter. That's a qualification that pretty much guarantees global respect and a very high income.
The amount of time he'd invested. Over 2,000 hours.
2,000 hours of sacrifice. Gone. But he prioritized this new emerging purpose scaling and online business and building a liquid net worth over that credential.
And the outcome of that radical choice is what this book is all about. The source describes what he calls his Cancun moment. He's sitting on a beach with his wife, Alicia, watching the sunset. And he realizes that the automated systems they'd built were generating more income in a single week than a lot of people make in a whole year. And he was doing it while being totally checked out, just enjoying his time.
And that shows it was strategic design. It wasn't just luck. Today, he manages, often remotely while traveling, this whole portfolio of leveraged businesses. He's got a network marketing business, an award-winning online education and coaching company.
The one that won a 2 Comma Club award.
That's the one. Plus an events company, a bunch of automated business acquisitions, a public speaking career, a multiple 7-figure equity portfolio that he actively manages, and his podcast, Money Grows on Trees.
And the core idea, tying all of that together, is actually pretty simple, but really profound. He realized that financial problems rarely come from a lack of financial intelligence.
Right. Most people get basic math. The real problem, the problem that's happening upstream, as Desmond Tutu would say, is the inability to manage time effectively.
Exactly. Ross figured that if you can master your time, financial intelligence becomes infinitely easier to actually use and scale. So his mission became 2 things. Achieve a $1 million liquid net worth, and build a life that was completely free from offices, commuting, and being tied to one place.
And what he discovered is the key principle we really need to internalize before we even get to the laws.
Which is?
That the hierarchy has to be flipped. Time and money are not equal. Time is the fixed resource. It's finite, so it's inherently more precious than money, which you can always make more of.
And that's what keeps people stuck, right? They're in that financial struggle cycle. They take a job they don't love with a long, awful commute, because they prioritize the money over the time.
They sacrifice the precious, non-renewable resource for the one that is renewable.
Whereas the time-rich person, like a Warren Buffett, is fiercely protective of their schedule. Buffett puts time above money in every single decision he makes. He uses his capital to literally buy back his time. And Ross's mission is to share the 4 time-rich laws that gave him the framework to do the same.
That framework is exactly what we need to get into. It's the repeatable path.
And it doesn't start with action. It starts with absolute clarity.
Yep, that's the foundation.
Now, before we jump into those 4 time-rich laws, let's just quickly talk about efficient knowledge, because that is the ultimate time leverage. If you're loving this kind of strategic breakdown and you want to get the most valuable insights from the world's best books without spending weeks reading them yourself, make sure you subscribe to Audible Books right now. We deliver these captivating, custom-tailored summaries so you never miss out on key knowledge, effectively leveraging our time to save yours.
We're here because we believe knowledge is power, but getting that knowledge efficiently, that's a form of systems leverage that everyone should be using.
Absolutely. So let's get back to that core principle. Time is more precious than money. And the foundation for earning back your time, it starts not with doing stuff, but with a radical clarity of purpose.
Precisely, which brings us right to the first, most foundational cornerstone.
The first law, the law of definite purpose. And it's perfectly summed up by a quote from James Clear. If you commit to nothing, you'll be distracted by everything. This definite purpose isn't some vague wish. It's a non-negotiable guiding light that instantly tells you which opportunities to chase and which ones to just throw away immediately.
Yeah, and you can contrast that with what he calls the time-poor mindset. That person is just living passively. They're constantly reacting.
Right.
They let external forces Emails, phone calls, their boss's requests, what society expects. They let that dictate their life, and they're just stuck in this feeling of impossibility because they don't have a defined destination, so they waste all their time chasing other people's dreams. They become a puppet.
Ross realized this when he was in that corporate 9 to 5. The money was good, but he was operating completely within the definite purpose of the CEO or the client, not his own. So to break free, you have to adopt the time-rich mindset, which means taking control by creating what he calls a mind movie.
A mind movie. It's a vivid, super detailed projection of your ideal life 5 to 10 years in the future. It's a map that's so clear that it becomes this source of immense courage and certainty, especially on the days when the work is really hard. Ross points to Arnold Schwarzenegger, who visualized himself as a champion bodybuilder because he was so inspired by his idol, Reg Park. The power is in the certainty of the goal, even if the actual roadmap, the steps, the connections, the skills you need is still completely invisible.
You don't need all the answers now. You just need that unwavering belief that the destination is possible. And Ross proved this himself with his dual purpose: $1 million liquid net worth and a life free from geographical ties. He wrote it down in a single paragraph, and that clarity made every painful decision that came later possible.
It's the tangible dream that kills the distraction because every single request that comes in can be measured against that one single thing. But, a lot of people struggle with that. That blank page is intimidating. So let's look at the 5 practical tools Ross gives for actually finding this purpose.
Okay, good. The first tool is listen to the whisper. This isn't about rational, spreadsheet-driven thinking. It's the subtle voice of your heart. Robert Greene talks about this, that we have to search our past, our childhood, to find our core character before the noise of parents and society took over. What was the thing you loved to do before someone told you it wasn't profitable?
That inner voice is the key to being aligned. And the moment you hear it, you have to follow up with the question. If I were to go down this path, what is the smallest single next thing I could do?
And that simple, actionable question just translates this impossible dream into the very first achievable step. It creates this immediate, powerful momentum.
Right. Okay, so number 2 is have some fun. Experiment. Ross says finding your life's work is a lot like finding a life partner.
Yeah, you don't marry the first person you meet.
Exactly. You flirt with possibilities, you date the most promising paths, and you should never, ever settle until you find that perfect match that just resonates with your values. It's a period of exploration.
Third, and maybe the easiest form of mental leverage, is choose a role model. We don't have to invent the path from scratch. You can just emulate the traits of people who have already done what you want to do. Ross looked to his father for work ethic, and figures like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger for their financial philosophy.
And if you don't have those people in your immediate circle, reading widely, finding biographical models, that's essential here.
Okay, the fourth tool gives us some deeper psychological insight. It's complete a diocese profile and a spiritual gifts test. And this is so critical because your definite purpose has to align with your innate wiring, not just what looks good on paper.
Let's dig into the diocese profile for a second because it's a powerful compass. It measures your behavioral tendencies: dominant D, influential I, steady S, and compliant C. So if you're a high D, you thrive on challenge, control, and getting immediate results. Your purpose might be to build a huge disruptive business where you're the leader. But if you're a high C, you're meticulous, focused on accuracy and systems. Forcing yourself into a high-pressure sales role is just going to lead to misery and burnout.
Even if the money's good.
Even if the money's good, you'd be so much better off building something precise and structured, like a specialist accounting firm or a data analysis company. Alignment removes the friction.
And the spiritual gift test does something similar, right? It helps identify your natural talents, like teaching or administration. If you're a natural teacher, your purpose should probably involve education or mentorship in some way.
And then there's the final tool, the ultimate guide for those really hard, purpose-driven decisions, the deathbed test.
I love this one.
It's a mental exercise where you project yourself forward to age 90. You're on your deathbed, and you look back at the difficult decision you're facing right now. What would you regret more? Taking the leap and enduring the temporary discomfort, or staying comfortable and safe?
And as Ross says, the pain of future regret, of looking back at a life you didn't live, it always outweighs the temporary pain of an awkward conversation or a difficult change today.
We saw this with the story about Daniel, one of his mentorship students. Daniel was stuck in this toxic construction job in Perth, in Western Australia, And he was about to become a dad. His dream seemed impossible. Get out of that industry, switch into sales, and move his new family clear across the continent to the Gold Coast.
I mean, the odds were completely stacked against him. New father, not a lot of sales experience,
Yeah.
and thousands of kilometers away from his goal. But because he defined his purpose with such incredible clarity, he developed this just unwavering determination to make it happen.
He's now thriving on the Gold Coast, building his investment portfolio. But the point isn't just that he moved, it's that his definite purpose was a shield against every excuse, every fear, and every person who told him it was impossible. He knew why he was fighting.
Okay, so purpose is the shield. It's the motivation. But even with a clear destination, the ship of your life isn't going to move very fast if it's weighed down with a bunch of unnecessary cargo.
And that brings us right to the second law. The law of elimination. Ross has this brilliant analogy. Success is not about adding more stuff to your life. It's about subtraction.
The Michelangelo's David analogy.
Exactly. You just remove everything that isn't David. It's this continuous process of chipping away at the extraneous things, whether that's tasks or obligations or even physical possessions.
I really appreciate that analogy because it reframes quitting. It's not a failure, it's an essential part of creation. And the core action here is learning to say an uncompromising no to every single opportunity, task, or obligation that does not actively help your definite purpose.
The most famous example of this is Warren Buffett's advice to his pilot, Mike Flint. Flint listed 25 career goals. Buffett made him circle his top 5. Those 5 were the only focus.
And the other 20.
The other 20, Buffett said, were to be avoided at all costs. They weren't a backup plan. They were prioritized distractions that had to be ruthlessly eliminated.
Ross learned this the hard way, right? He was juggling his corporate job, building his online business, studying 20 hours a week for the CFA, and even prepping for a bodybuilding competition. He was overwhelmingly busy, but he wasn't being productive toward his actual goal.
And this is where that psychological pain, the sunk cost fallacy, just hits you like a truck. Ross was 5 years into the CFA program, one exam away from one of the world's most recognized financial qualifications.
He invested over 2,000 hours.
2,000 grueling hours, tons of vacation days, a lot of money, and his ego was just screaming at him, "You can't quit now, you're so close, what a waste!"
So how do you justify throwing that away?
You do it by rationally looking at alignment. The CFA charter, as prestigious as it is, was preparing him for a traditional time-mortgaged financial career. And that completely contradicted his new definite purpose, which was scaling an online business for location and time freedom.
So walking away was actually liberation.
It was. He chose to save his sanity and get back 20 hours a week. He prioritized his purpose over prestige and his past investment. That is the definition of the time-rich mindset. You're willing to suffer that immediate pain of quitting to get long-term freedom.
And the elimination didn't stop there. He had to have an incredibly difficult conversation with his father about leaving the family property business, which is so emotionally charged after they had rebuilt it together.
That is the courage to be disliked. Reyes had to put his definite purpose ahead of the possibility of disappointing his father. And when he finally explained that he had to go all in on the online business, his father, seeing that determination, responded with, "I would be more disappointed if you felt this way and didn't follow your heart."
Wow. And the beautiful irony is that his elimination created more success for both of them.
It did. Ross's online business boomed with the extra time, and his father was forced to pivot the property business and ended up having some of his most profitable years. Often, the thing you eliminate was actually the constraint on someone else's growth, too.
Okay, so that's eliminating commitments. Let's talk about eliminating material stuff, because this ties directly into owning your time. The time-poor mindset is driven by status. It believes that wealthy people own a lot of stuff.
Right. Multiple properties, expensive cars, vacation homes, all the toys.
But ownership is a hidden tax on your time and your mental energy. Morgan Housel says in The Psychology of Money that the greatest value of money is its ability to give you control over your time. And when you buy a possession, you're often buying a whole series of future decisions. Upkeep, insurance, cleaning, repairs, managing tenants, or even just the guilt of not using it.
Yeah, the time-rich mindset flips this completely. Wealth equals freedom of time, and therefore it means fewer decisions. Ross points out that the ultra-rich often live very simply. Elon Musk works from a tiny little structure. Mark Zuckerberg wears the same shirt every day.
Right, and it's not because he can't afford more shirts.
Of course not. It's to eliminate one simple decision from his day. Every decision you save frees up mental capacity for the stuff that actually matters.
And Ross applies this philosophy to his investments. He explains why he prefers stocks over rental properties, even though so many gurus push real estate.
Because real estate comes with a huge decision burden. You're dealing with tenants, vetting property managers, getting calls about maintenance, insurance forms. It all eats up time and mental energy. He wants assets that make money without creating decision burdens.
Which is where passive capital investment wins for him. It's truly passive.
And this led to that success story of Paul and Tracy, his mentorship students. They systematically sold off a bunch of properties and almost all their personal belongings on Facebook Marketplace. They took that capital and put it into a low-cost, multi-million-dollar index fund that's managed passively.
And the transformation was huge. They traded the constant decision fatigue of being active landlords for passive cash flow, managed by experts for a tiny fee.
So Ross's actionable tactic here is immediate. Just go list unnecessary stuff for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Clear the clutter, get rid of the future decision burdens, and generate some seed money. I mean, he notes his first $1 million business started with just $500.
So we have the purpose, and we've cleared the decks of all the distractions. Now we have to make sure that the few things we do work on give us the maximum results.
And that is the realm of the third law, the law of leverage.
Archimedes said, "Give me a lever long enough and I shall move the world." Ross argues that if compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, then leverage, getting more done with less effort, is the ninth.
Leverage is about strategically using people, systems, and capital to, as Dan Sullivan says, buy back your time. So let's start with A, people leverage, delegation, and partnerships.
I think this is the hardest step for high achievers because the time-poor mindset trap is just so rooted in ego and insecurity. The ego says, only I can do it right, which makes you the bottleneck for your own success. And the insecurity says, oh, I don't want to burden anyone else, so you never outsource.
Ross's father's wisdom is so good here. Don't keep a dog and bark yourself. You are paying someone to do a task. If you do it anyway, you've just paid twice for the same work.
So he provides 5 concrete steps for mastering delegation.
Step 1, and this is the hardest one psychologically, surrender control. This means you have to let go of your preferred way of doing things, and maybe even the specific outcome. A mentor once told Ross, "My delegation is your personal development."
I like that.
It's good, right? You're giving someone else the chance to grow their skills and their self-belief. If you micromanage them, you steal that opportunity.
Step 2, determine your genius and become strategically incompetent. So you identify the few things you are both great at and enjoy doing. Everything else has to go.
He uses that great example of outsourcing IKEA furniture assembly. He's terrible at it, it's a low-skill task for him, and it just eats up hours of his time and frustration. So he pays someone to do it. He's strategically incompetent at flat-pack furniture, but highly competent at what actually matters.
And this leads right into step 3. Calculate your hourly rate. This gives you the rational reason to outsource low-value tasks. The formula is simple. Take your desired annual salary, divide it by 52 weeks, and then divide that by your working hours.
Let's run the numbers slowly so you can do this. If you're targeting a comfortable, time-rich income of, say, $100,000 a year,
Good.
You divide that by 52 weeks, you get about $1,923 a week.
Okay.
Now, if you're only focusing on 20 strategic hours a week, you divide that weekly income by 20, and you get an implied hourly rate of about $96.
The math is brutal and clarifying. If you spend an hour washing your car, which is a $25 task, you're effectively costing yourself $96 worth of your most precious asset.
Exactly. Outsourcing a $30 an hour admin task frees up over $95 of your time to do something with high leverage, like close a deal or document a system. This is how the wealthy think. They aggressively spend money to save time.
Okay, so step 4 is the organizational part. Create 3 lists. List 1 is can't do your absolute incompetencies, like complex legal stuff. List 2 is shouldn't do everything below your $96 hourly rate, like washing the car or managing your calendar. And list 3 is don't want to do tasks you're good at, but you just hate doing.
And you have to ruthlessly outsource everything on those 3 lists.
And the final step, which is crucial for getting good results, is do, document, delegate. So you do the task yourself once, create clear, repeatable instructions or a quick video, that's the document, and then you hand it off.
Right. And he insists on hiring for attitude, not just skill. He fired an executive assistant who called in sick on her first day. Attitude is the one thing you can't train.
Okay, so moving from delegation to partnerships. This is where the real-time alchemy happens. Ross and his wife, Alicia, run all these businesses with a really lean team because they use the who for the who model. They partner with people who, in turn, manage their own teams and systems.
The examples are so good. In their network marketing business, Ross and Alicia provided the marketing and sales expertise. Their partner company in North America handled all the massive time-sucking parts, manufacturing, shipping, tech, financials, all of it.
So they leveraged an entire company's back end for an initial cost of, what, $500?
$500. Then, in their education business, Ross had the knowledge and the capital, but he didn't have the time or the deep skill to build online funnels and complex ads. So he partnered with Jay, who brought the time, energy, and technical skill. And that's what led to their 2 Comma Club award.
And the third example, replacing myself, this is the ultimate test of time wealth. As his business grew, Ross became the bottleneck for sales calls. So he didn't just hire a sales team, he partnered with a team that specialized in managing a sales team.
And the ultimate test came when he was on a yacht in the Sea of Cortez with no cell reception for 6 days. When he got service back, he found out they'd made a major sale without him even knowing.
That's real leverage. And finally, there's the ultimate partnership for capital leverage, Warren Buffett. You can partner with Buffett not just by buying Berkshire Hathaway stock, but by following his advice.
And his advice is that his wife's inheritance should be invested in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, like from Vanguard or BlackRock.
And this is so important for listeners who want time freedom. Index funds require 0 active management time. They just passively track the market, they're diversified, they're ultra-low cost, and they require nothing more than a glance once a quarter. They let your money work for you 24/7 without consuming a single second of your time.
The lesson with people leverage is that success is a team sport. You have to always be asking who can do this, instead of defaulting to how will I do this.
Which flows perfectly into B systems leverage. Because while people might get sick or need to be managed, systems are reliable. They never get tired. System stands for save yourself time, energy, and money.
Systems are the repeatable patterns that run the universe, and they're essential for business. But Ross warns that you have to create efficient, repeatable processes, what he calls soft systems, before you try to automate them with hard systems, which is software and machinery.
The McDonald's brothers were masters of the soft system. They created the streamlined process for making the food, and that allowed Ray Kroc to come in and scale it with massive duplication in hard systems.
Exactly. But the time-poor mindset is often plagued by technophobia. People say, oh, I'm not a tech person. They think technology is complex, when really the best modern tech is designed to be easy to use and is often way more dependable than people.
Ross's early property business is a perfect example. They used an automatic dialing system for their telemarketers. They went from making 1,000 calls a day to 18,000 calls a day with the same amount of time input.
That's an 18x increase in productivity. Technology is how you clone your efforts without adding a single hour to your day.
So working smarter means finding a who, a person, or what, a system, to do it for you. Let's run through the specific systems Ross says are available to everyone.
Okay, first, YouTube. He says he would almost fire anyone who asks a simple question that can be answered with a quick search. It's a free, universal video library that can teach you any skill, instantly solving how-to problems.
Second, social media, specifically Meta. It's the ultimate leverage tool for global advertising and branding at a tiny cost. He calls it a live resume that lets their businesses find ideal clients at scale.
Third, Zoom. It replaces all those costly, time-consuming in-person meetings. The goal is to go from being a passive Zoom user to a Zoom producer, using it for group training, workshops, and content creation.
Fourth, Calendly. This simple app automates all your scheduling. It connects to your calendar and eliminates that endless back and forth of trying to book a meeting.
Fifth, Spotify for podcasters. Ross runs his whole award-winning podcast, Money Grows on Trees, with just his phone, a good mic, and this free app that handles global distribution automatically.
And finally, the ultimate systems leverage tool right now, ChatGPT. He rightly calls it the ultimate multilingual assistant. Let's talk about some immediate practical uses.
Right. ChatGPT is instant leverage. It can write complete email sequences in seconds, saving you hours of copywriting. It can summarize dense documents, draft social media copy for different platforms, and give you instant advice on financial analysis or coding. It does tasks that used to require a whole team of junior employees, and it does it instantly, without a salary or sick days.
It's a skill you have to learn now, not in 20 years. just to stay competitive in time management.
Right, and when you combine people and systems, finding the who to run the what, that's when you get those 10x results with way less effort.
Okay, so we have the vision, we've cleared the clutter, and we've maximized our leverage. Now we face the most common modern problem, overwhelm. Which brings us to the fourth law, the law of priority. This is about avoiding that feeling by focusing intensely on the tasks that actually move the wealth and time needle.
This law is all about being intentional. If you always feel like there's not enough time in the day, you're probably just doing the wrong stuff. Prioritizing means getting really clear on what you're going to give up.
Yeah, the time-poor mindset is all about being reactive. Your schedule is full of urgent but unimportant tasks. You feel like you have to say yes to everyone, so you're just spinning your wheels and not getting any closer to your definite purpose.
Whereas the time-rich mindset is intentional. Ross uses that great analogy of the boy and the horse in the fog. When you can't see far ahead, you don't focus on the 10,000 steps to your destination. You just focus on the very next single step.
And when you prioritize that one next step, you keep moving forward.
To do this, Ross recommends two specific time-tested strategies. The first one is the Eisenhower method.
Right, from President Eisenhower. It's a simple matrix for weighing tasks based on urgency and importance. And the key insight is his quote, "The urgent are not important, and the important are never urgent."
And the four quadrants are your immediate triage system. 1, urgent and important. This is crisis management. You have to do it now. 2, important but not urgent. This is where the deep work happens, the stuff that's aligned with your purpose. Strategy, building systems, education. You have to decide to do this later, meaning schedule it.
Okay.
3, urgent but not important. These are the time thieves and interruptions, like most emails or certain phone calls. You delegate or automate these. And 4, neither urgent nor important. You eliminate these ruthlessly, permanently.
And the second tool is the Ivy Lee method. It's so simple, it's almost absurd, but it was so effective that it earned Ivy Lee a check for $25,000 from Charles Schwab, which is like $400,000 today for one conversation.
It works because it forces you to structure your day before it even begins, which cuts down on decision fatigue. At the end of each workday, you write down the 6 most important things to do tomorrow in order of priority. And the rule is absolute focus. You work only on the first task until it's 100% done, then you move to the second.
And it's critical that the most vital, high-leverage task is first. But the other important things, like gym time or family time, they're still on the list, so you maintain balance. It stops you from doing the easy, trivial tasks first just to feel productive.
Rose calls this his dominant list, and he's clear. Tasks go on the dominant list, but appointments and meetings go in the digital calendar. Your brain is for having ideas, not for storing appointments.
Which is part of the bigger strategy. Delegate to your diary. Every meeting, every deep work session, family time, gym time, and especially rest has to be scheduled in your Google Calendar. If it's not scheduled, it's not going to happen.
This also means setting strict boundaries, which is the antidote to hurry. John Mark Comer, the pastor Ross quotes, says he almost lost his soul because he was constantly in a state of hurry, which is a direct symptom of busyness. Love and hurry just can't coexist.
The time-poor person is easy to find, easy to reach. They say yes to everything because they're afraid of being impolite or they crave the validation of being needed.
But the time-rich mindset is the opposite. Easy to find, hard to reach. You still provide value, but you set these firm, protective boundaries around your time. And Ross gives some really practical steps for this.
Tactically, his voicemail is super concise. "I don't answer calls, so please hang up and text me." He rarely replies to emails right away. He keeps all his notifications turned off, and he physically moves distracting apps to the last screen on his phone to make them harder to get to.
Another one is Derek Siever's hell yes or no rule. If a potential commitment doesn't immediately make you feel hell yes, then it's an automatic, firm no.
And this is all supported by energy management. You have to schedule rest. Ross tracks his energy peaks with an app. He tracks his sleep. Because productivity is like boxing. If you're tense and you waste movement and you hurry, you burn out fast. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast.
Right. And finally, you put all these tools together into the focus funnel from Rory Vaden. For every single task that comes to you, you send it through this sequence before you even think about doing it yourself.
The sequence is, first, can I eliminate it? Is it truly necessary for my purpose? If no, kill it.
Second, can I automate it? Can a system handle this? If yes, set it up.
Third, Can I delegate it? Is it below my hourly rate or outside my genius zone? If yes, assign it.
And if all those answers are no, then you ask again, does this truly support my definite purpose?
And only then, if the answer is an emphatic yes, do you finally do the task yourself. He used this with a client who wanted to build a coaching business, but was paralyzed because she felt she had to finish these 2 huge, research-heavy books she'd started.
The funnel made it obvious. Finishing the books had zero to do with her actual purpose of getting clients and creating a course. They were just eliminated. Instant relief and the freedom to focus on what mattered.
And so all this tactical advice is really rooted in one fundamental shift. Control over your time has to come before financial control.
Right. And Ross's success is the result of just relentless adherence to these principles. Let's recap them.
The framework starts with that psychological foundation, the guiding light.
Number 1, definite purpose. Get crystal clear on your vision. That vivid mental map. If you don't know where you're going, you'll be distracted by everything.
Number 2, elimination. Subtract the non-essential. Chip away at unnecessary tasks, obligations, and clutter that demand your attention. Choose freedom over status.
3, leverage. Do more by doing less. Use people through delegation and partnerships, use systems through smart technology, and use capital through passive investing.
And 4, priority. Focus intensely on what's important. Protect your time with firm boundaries. Get rid of hurry, and make sure every hour you spend is moving you toward your purpose.
So the ultimate takeaway for you, the learner, is this shift in focus. Stop trying to create money first. Focus entirely on creating more time for yourself. The wealth, the compounding financial results of all that focused, leveraged activity that will naturally follow.
Ross brings up that historical parallel, that if all the money in the world were handed out equally, in a few years, it would all end up back where it is today. Because wealth is the result of applying specific principles and behaviors consistently.
And we can apply that exact same logic to time, which leaves us with our final provocative thought for you to chew on this week.
If everyone woke up tomorrow and suddenly had 40 hours of completely free, unscheduled time this week time, they got back from commutes or meetings or unnecessary tasks, what would they do with it?
Would they use that free time strategically to gain more leverage, to set up a system, define their purpose, start a partnership that would compound their future freedom?
Or would they just instantly fill that vacuum with more trivial errands, more distractions, and more busy work?
The difference between the time rich and the time poor isn't a bank balance. It's just a consistent decision to change your behavior and follow the blueprint.
The blueprint is now in your hands.
And that's our deep dive for today.
Get out of the rat race for good.